Well, hello everyone. Here to show you the amazing Spider-Man Dream Read coloring right here is I went ahead and drew right here is like you got the character right here is Spider-Man, and of course right here is with Beetle it is, and with most of us seen from the work that I've done before, but talking about is for Dream Read is most of us will probably think about about any comic book related character, if it's going to be a Marvel comic or any other type of a comic publishing say company it is. But basically talking about with these characters right here is that the thing about that whenever you're a kid that maybe that you would like to work a puzzle, maybe put maybe buy maybe buy a pair of shoes or maybe a pair of socks, or maybe say a couple times I've gone shopping, of course, in the store, and I've there are a lot of things that they have special characters that would be on, like what you call shirts or maybe a jacket or anything like that. But more likely is to know that that even memory cards, flash drives, of course, is that have a that you can buy them nowadays, so that that when with the Disney character is like with a certain character on there, or say a comic book character it is. But basically is that as you see right here is I went ahead and added in the detail right here is like for Amazing Spider-Man, and then kind of reminds me a lot of the memories from whenever I was a kid. It is whenever I was young, would play the game on the Sega Genesis console it was, and I can still remember the basic controls, and of course I had that game, of course, and just knowing about remember about is the A, B, and C, and then of course is like the start button, and of course is the when during the gameplay it is knowing about how to work the controls, like the left down, left and right, arrows it is. But on the other hand too, that with the game though, that I remember my parents used to wake me up a couple times in the school mornings it was, and then just to turn the game console on, and then just to watch me is like I guess you say where they would be like what you call is like the display is like the demo part of it's like the game would come on, and then where the I don't know if you say the computer would be able to move the cursor the character was, but knowing about there would be like what you call as parts of the game where you can actually see it's like during gameplay it is. But one scene that more likely that may make it to the big screen right here, of course, is like for the movie The Amazing Spider-Man, is basically is that I always keep thinking about is that they would maybe put like an airport scene inside there, and of course we were probably thinking about that maybe I think I've mentioned the part is like the Statue of Liberty, or other places of say of New York it is, or maybe at New Jersey it is. But other than that, it's like talking about it's like any places like parks or whatever. But any places that more likely that you may we all may think about that may suggest for so far as if they were to be making it to the big screen it is. But one part that I was thinking about is like if they were to have an airport scene is knowing about is like that if they had an airport scene, then more likely to do would be like what you call the villain of say is the Beetle it is the Beetle that would you say be that would be causing problems you say at the airport it is, and especially with the helicopters it is. And of course I did not draw any helicopters in, but on the other hand too that you got right here is the plane. It's like for the airport scene, and talk about it's like really what would the Beetle be doing. It's like so far as the airport goes is maybe flying around and maybe be scaring the people away, whatever it is. But this type of a character right here, of course I don't even have any of the Spider-Man to say comics it is, but I pretty much drew him like this right here, to where that he kind of looks like what you call is like one of those characters from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something like that, or you say maybe a little bit of look of the Green Goblin it is. But on the other hand too that the way I drew them is I went ahead and colored in as they got the green, and of course it's like a little bit of the red type colors, and I was just thinking about it. It's like what I think that more likely what the villain would look like. If it's like if he knowing about if he had wings, and of course if he had extra. Yeah, if I remember, I looked it up online as knowing about that what the Beetle looks like, say in the comic books, and just knowing about with the Beetle is that if he has like what you call eyes, maybe kind of like SpiderMan, but only that with this type of look, the round shape on his head, and then of course I kept thinking about the Beetle may have like what you call like maybe a steel face. It's like a real hard iron steel face to where that he would be what you call that he would have the powers. It's like knowing about this, like had a suit. It's like mighty. It's like suited it was, and I remember that used to do this, of course, with the. It's like with a friend or two of mine is knowing about. It's like whenever you're doing say artwork, it's like using a certain character. It's like the game was called Mortal Kombat. I'm sure a lot of people would probably be familiar with that game. It's like knowing about when you played Mortal Kombat is that you see that you have like a certain fighter it is, and I would draw fighters it was, and kind of give it a name, and then of course what it does and stuff, and but on your hand too, that knowing about that you draw the fighters, and it's like not like what you call one of those wrestling games to where you can create a superstar it is, and actually play with the superstar, and be wrestling with them, but on your hand too, that knowing about is like with whatever that you think about. It's like if you want to come up with your own ideas for your own say the top villains it is, but other than that is knowing about with the Beetle it is that of course I remember right that the Beetle would be like one of the villains. It's like in that say in the comic book, and on the other hand too, that knowing about what does he look like. Well, I'm just assuming that he looks like one of those big tough dudes, characters that I guess if he stands about at least maybe 10 11 feet high, and of course it has that capability to where he can fly and all that, but basically is that this reminds me of a story. Is like knowing about this, like right here is like the toys, and then along with the shirts and the lamp it is, but if we were to do any shopping, this reminds me of a story from back those couple years ago. It is that be ordering something games say on from one of those companies, and a lot of them, or quite a few of those companies, will probably say that you had to be 18 or older in order to be able to purchase complete this purchase with the credit or debit card it is, but on the other hand too, that knowing about is that we probably think about it, and you get like a watch with one of those famous characters say on it. It's like if it was Captain America, or if it was Dragon Ball Z, or if it was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or if it was say Dora the Explorer, or say Kermit the Frog or something like that, or any type of Looney Tune character, SpongeBob it is, that the things that they would make nowadays for most kids. It's like to play with it is, and I can name a few things that of course had other than the Halloween costume it was that a few things that I have now actually that got like is like a USB flash drive it is, and with most of us with with kids, it's like if they would maybe doing their homework or say on a computer it is that they would have a flash drive like this right here. It's like for the Amazing Spider-Man it is, and but other than that, at like the Genesis console, I can remember that there's a piece it goes over here, and of course most of us probably seen it before. Of course, even fits on the keychain. It is on the key ring. But anyway, that with most of us. Here, if we're going to have the shirt, and of course, like the we got right here is what the size it is. It's like knowing about between small, medium, and large, and it's like extra large it is. But but other than that, it's like knowing about if it goes by what you call 4 or 5, different, type shirts, sizes it is. But anyway, but so far as dream read it is knowing about is like a type of thing that more likely that you would think about, you dream about. It's like knowing about maybe if we did have to do our homework or whatever it is, that knowing about that, yeah, that really you buy a pencil or maybe buy a pen it is, and just thinking about it, a couple of them would have like what you call those characters you see on the pencil it is, and just knowing about that you see something like that in the store it is, and you think it's you may want to spend your allowance money on it, whatever it is, but on your hand too, that knowing about that, I would think that I was thinking just now, it's like knowing about that if we would dream about maybe having an alarm, having a, like I say, alarm clock lamp. I say you got right here is like a light bulb, and I'll go ahead and just draw like an example, say, of a lamp. But right here it is. But you have right here is a lamp, and right on front of it would be like what you call is an alarm clock, and a lot of us, if we probably thinking about with alarm clock lamp, it is that we may have seen something kind of like that in the stores. It is, but the type of dream read alarm clock I'm talking about would more likely be it's like maybe something that would I may have seen them. We may have seen them in the stores where they would maybe project a photo on the ceiling. It is, or maybe the time display on the ceiling. Or that they would have expansions like that, maybe the glow in the dark features or something like that. But other than that, knowing about that, you'll go ahead and use these 2 blue crayons right here. But just knowing about these, like you have the time display right there, and of course that we could probably think about that anything that used to read comic books nowadays, that it's like nowadays with technology that maybe it was books, but then of course that they have like what you call is like the little the electronic e-reader for kids. I guess they say for kids that they would have it to where that little kids will be able to read comic stories, you say, on those say e-reader type device. But other than that, knowing about it reminds me a lot of times of the stories that you call the companies, and knowing about that with most companies nowadays that they say it to where that yep, you have to be 18 or older in order to call an order. It is, and in a lot of ways there may be some kids who are 15 or whatever that could be calling a number and being like, hey, I'm like, why do you have that rule? And more likely that they may say something like that that we want to make sure that we're talking to somebody who has a credit card. It is, and most of the time with any of your payment, you can't just pay cash over the phone. It is that in order to complete this order, it is that you have to have a credit card. And a lot of people probably think about, listen, kid, have you ordered, have you ever bought a box of Girl Scout cookies, or have you ever bought a candy bar? Like yeah, but, well, this is your online order requires a credit card, and of course it's like knowing about, it's like people probably think about between cash and change, whatever it is, that with most kids it is like if you're talking about between 8 and 9, maybe 10 years old, we're probably thinking about that really, why do you have that rule? It's knowing about that if you want to buy a nightstand, it is, and I'll tell you one thing, that whenever I was a kid, if I can remember right, that a couple times I bought candy bars, and then of course I may have bought that a few things in the kids aisle. It was maybe a coloring book, something like that. But on the other hand too, that knowing about that anything that you do buy that is like hey, that nowadays that they may check an ID if you're going to be buying any type of a toothpaste, any type of toothpaste with a real strong you say a cleaning cleanser on there. You probably think about that a lot of times in the soap, any type of bath products, that more likely that if you find anything with like what you call is like a famous comic book character on there, if it's Iron Man, or if it's the Hulk, or Incredible Hulk, or if it's Superman, whatever it is, that the Green Lantern, and then Thor, and all those other comic book characters it is, and at the time like wondering about that, that see him on there, and that knowing about that they raise up sometimes to a couple bucks it is. But on the other hand too, that knowing about is that probably thinking about is to go ahead and draw a little bit of detail right here. It's like for the lamp. But anyway, so far as the dream read is talking about is like if you were to thinking about that hey, that if you were to dream about having something like what you call maybe a lamp, or maybe a watch with it's like say a comic book it is, and comic book character, and just knowing about if we were to do the math right, and just knowing about that all adds up too. But on the other hand too, that we could probably think about with most of the time that we could probably think about is like I don't know if I ever thought about it. It's like that, hey, have a job to where that if you can come up with a great idea for what the team wants to use, and more likely you can make some money that way. But on the other hand too, knowing about with me is like, and we could probably think about it's like any type of a comic book character that you see on like what you call it's like a soda bottle. It is a soda bottle, and more likely if there was that would present it's like what you call it's like a certain movie title, the Avengers, whatever it is to know about that. Hey, that is to be like, well, what do you think it would be called? It's like the tag, Tang Man. It was Tang Man, Tang Man, Energy Star, whatever, Tang Man or something like that, or if I remember, I heard that of course that it's like talking about it's like a soda, named by name a team it is, or if it was like what you call it, it's like one of those medications, whatever it is. But anyway, but we could probably thinking about that so far as dream read is knowing about the things that maybe we would like to see, maybe come to the stores. It's like knowing about anything that you don't want. But anyway, we could probably think about it's like, hey, that if you want any type of artwork to know about, if it has anything to do with the taxes or your bills, or maybe doing chores around the house, it is to know that, hey, you can kind of keep that in mind. It's like your friendly reminder it is. It's like if you say, to set your alarm. It's like you set set your alarm. Set your alarm for 7 a.m. Something like that. It's like I remember every morning whenever I get up for school it's like knowing about it's like set your alarm for 7. It's like time to get up. But other than that, and like talking about it's like I'll be dreaming about something, and then all of a sudden the lights just come on real bright, and it's like talking about it's time to get up for school, son. But I don't want to get up. But other than that, it's talking about it's like for the Amazing Spider-Man, dream read. It's like for the dream read coloring.